Now, page 4, the new way forward without U.S. sovereignty. If Bernie Sanders were to capture the nomination for president for the Democrat Party, and if, God forbid, the Marxist socialists from Vermont were to win the presidency, and if the Democrats retain their majority in the House of Representatives, and if somehow Chuck Schumer were to become Senate Majority Leader, in other words, if this modern Democrat Party were to hold the political trifecta, control of 2 of the 3 branches of government, the legislature and the presidency, not unlike just 10 short years ago, then this republic would lose its constitutional identity and sovereign footing. The first thing this new power dynamic in Washington, D.C. would do is to consolidate and attempt to institutionalize its stranglehold on government. And among the key radical takeovers would happen with immigration. In order to retain generational control over the people, the fascists in the modern Democrat Party would accelerate the already slow but steady makeover of the electorate, which brings us to H.R. 5383, the New Way Forward Act. To a rational, sovereign, constitutional republic like the United States, H.R. 5383 is immigration insanity and sovereign suicide. The New Way Forward Act would destroy legal immigration as we know it. H.R. 5383 is an internal attack on this republic's sovereignty. It would end mandatory detention of illegal aliens. It would also establish a statute of limitations to deport illegals of 5 years. Just evade justice for 5 years, and these MS-13 gang members are home free. H.R. 5383 would require probable cause to arrest an illegal, and it would end removal without due process. In other words, H.R. 5383 would confer our precious constitutional rights on non-U.S. citizens who have violated our border. But there's more. There's more. The New Way Forward Act would prohibit state and local law enforcement from engaging illegals, thus establishing the entire United States as one massive sanctuary state. And to top it all off, H.R. 5383 would decriminalize illegal entry into the U.S. That's right. Violating our sovereign border would no longer be a crime, which would effectively neuter Border Patrol and ICE. Now, H.R. 5383 is not some kind of immigration fantasy land of Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or AOC. It is real. And it's in the workings right now of the Democrat-controlled House of Representatives, and it is waiting for a Democrat majority in Congress and a Bernie Sanders in the White House. If this were to happen, then H.R. 5383 would most assuredly be signed into law. And the contempt that the Democrats in Congress have for us, we the people, would then be manifested permanently into law, just like Obamacare of 10 years ago. It would destroy our civil society. It would destroy our rule of law, and it would destroy our national identity by effectively institutionalizing open borders. It would be a new way forward, all right, without our borders, without any semblance of a rational pro-America immigration policy, and without our national sovereignty. And at this moment, the open borders crowd in Washington, D.C. is pedal to the metal in full opposition to any semblance of pro-America Trump administration policy led by a militant law professor named Lindsay Harris.
But I think that what happened in 2018 was certainly, which led to mass family separations, was certainly a very dark moment in our history.
Stop,
and one
Dave.
from which...
Actually, what's happened in 2018 and what happened in 2019 is far from a dark moment in American history. It's a wonderful moment in American history, because what we have here is a commander-in-chief who actually wants to sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office and enforce immigration law. Because the previous president of the United States, the 44th president, Barack Obama, not only did not enforce immigration law, but he rewrote unilaterally immigration law, which is a violation of the United States Constitution. Instead, we have the 45th President of the United States who's actually trying to abide by the United States Constitution and enforce the immigration laws passed by Congress. So it's far from a dark day in this country. In fact, it's a wonderful moment in time because the numbers at the border, for example, show the effect of what the Trump administration is having along the border and in the interior vis-a-vis illegal immigration. You know, a year ago at this time, do you remember the numbers that we were talking about in terms of apprehensions at the border? It was coming in at around 100,000 apprehensions a month. 100,000. And of course, a lot of these people were coming from Central America and Guatemala and Honduras and El Salvador, and they were making their way through Mexico in these convoys, and they were staging in Mexico, and then they were having these bonsai attacks along our border, this massive humanity, and our Border Patrol had no choice but to detain them and put them in processing centers, and at some point we had to let them go because we couldn't keep them for very long because judges, activist judges, were saying, hey, you can't keep them for very long. And so they were released on their own recognizance, never to be heard from again. That's what was happening just a year ago. 100,000 a month. You know what the number is now? Because of the Trump policies and this dark day this woman is alluding to, this Lindsay character, they're down to around 20, 25,000 a day. Now, that's still a large number. But the point is, the Trump administration policies are working. They're working. It's been cut by 3/4 the number of illegals attacking our sovereignty on a monthly basis. So why is this happening? What kind of policies? Well, first of all, the overall global message to these wannabe illegals that are south of our border right now is, hey, we have a commander-in-chief, a chief executive in the Oval Office right now who's going to try and stop me from violating the sovereignty of the United States, from crossing the border illegally. That's an important message versus the previous president who basically had a welcome sign, a neon welcome sign at the border, come on and violate our sovereignty. That's number one. Number two, the president is instituting other policies like this thing called the wall. He's trying to secure the border. And, you know, it's not a perfect system, but it's certainly cutting down on the attack along the border, the invasion along the border by people who don't belong here. And third, he's working with our neighbor to the south. What a novel idea. And he's putting pressure on Mexico to say, hey, you know what? You need to get control of your border. It's not just a one-way street here. That's the U.S.-Mexico border. It's a shared border. So Mexico, start patrolling your northern border. And oh, by the way, how about patrol your southern border while you're at it? And look what's happened. The numbers show the results of this, the greatest border president in the history of this republic. So this new way forward, back to that, this new way forward, these open borders radicals are attempting to solidify a voter base, a large percentage of which is immigrant. Why immigrant voters? Because they tend to vote in hefty majorities for one party over the other, and that would be, for many reasons, the Democrat Party.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.